Is the growing time to fruit on the tomato any quicker in hydroponics?
Yes, absolutely. It's about twice as fast. The lettuces, by the way, and I'll get to you, Larry. I want to tell you something about those lettuces. If you look on the packet, it says 50 days. I've got a floating raft bed in my greenhouse that I can bring those lettuces to full term, a full head in 28 days. And what I do is I stick the nutrient in that raft box that I made, and I set it and forget it. There's no pumps, there's no anything, and I can grow 12 heads of lettuce at one time. Usually what I do is stagger it, so we always have fresh lettuce coming in, and you can basically cut your time in half on the lettuce. Now as far as the tomatoes, it's not quite that good, but it's close. It's about a third faster, roughly. It is, because the plant doesn't have to search around for nutrient like it does in the soil. It's a completely different idea. Yes, Larry?
Okay, in your 5-gallon bucket, you're going to fill it up now with your hydroponic solution?
Yes, this solution.
Up to that mark?
Yes, up to the white mark on the tube.
White mark on the tube?
Yes, sir. Okay. Up to the white mark with water. You don't even have to worry about measuring out your water. You just get to the white mark, and then you put this formula here in it.
Right.
And stir it up good, and that's all you got to do.
Okay. Can I ask all my questions at once? Or?
Sure.
All right. On your fertilizer you were talking about earlier, where you make it 1 teaspoon per gallon.
Yes.
How often do you feed your plants with that fertilizer?
Every time I water.
And which is?
I usually water through the winter about once a week. Unless it's already wet, I won't. Okay. But most of my plants are averaging about once a week.
Do you use the same solution in the summer, in the spring and summer?
I'll use it everywhere, every time, everything.
Okay.
Yes.
And for 1 gallon,
well, you'll probably end up mixing it by the 5-gallon, or what you'll do is figure out how to get one of these things to work. It'd be a little easier on you, but I haven't actually used that solution in this yet, but I intend on it. I will.
And do you know what the pH is of the mushroom compost? Is that acidic or basic?
I've grown out of that stuff for about 2 years. No, I don't know. It's my plants have always really done incredible in it. I guess it's probably about what it should be, 6.5 roughly.
And if you needed to raise the pH of the soil, more basic, what would you add to it?
I would use wood ash if I need to make it more alkaline, or if I need to make it more acidic. I probably would use ground up pine needles or something along that line. Something, I'd find a good organic thing to make it more acidic. Pine needles is good.
All right. And last question is, on your pole frames, are you using treated or untreated wood? And
I use untreated wood.
Okay.
I'm very careful about that. Now, unfortunately, I did not build, I helped put together the ones on the school. They use pressure treated wood. I would have never used that or suggested, but they already bought it by the time I got there, and I couldn't do anything.
What about the idea of using concrete block, cinder blocks?
Oh, I love that idea. You know what I like even better than that? Use cap blocks. Have you ever seen, those little blocks, they're about like this and they're that thick, and you lay them up on their side? I saw a gardener that did that, and I really like that method because that thing will last forever. You never have to worry about it rotting. My wood, my planter boxes, I coat those every year with marine spar varnish so they won't rot. Just on the outside, not on the inside. And I'll do that for about 3 years, and then I'll skip a year every year. And that should...
When you grow with the blocks, you can grow in the middle, but then in every hole on the block that are facing up, you can stick another kind of plant.
Yeah, absolutely. You could do that. Yes.
Or you can stick flowers and it looks nice.
Yeah, and blocks are still cheap, fairly. Yes. Yes.
Okay, you said be careful when you have to use peat moss. Peat moss can make it acidic sometimes. When are you careful on this sort of thing?
It depends. If it's something like, I just use it, and if the plant shows adverse reactions, generally you're going to find growing out in the sunshine, you're not going to have the same problems you would like if you're growing indoors like this. because you'll be using that in your plant, your pots. I don't know why that is. Growing out in the sunshine seems to make plants to a degree bulletproof. As far as stuff like that, like your pH can be off and the plant is not as concerned and is still growing fine because it's growing outside. Whereas if you bring that same plant indoors, that plant will have a reaction adversely. What I have bought is a pH meter. I just bought this. Now I've been operating these things for probably 6 weeks now without this because I got well water and I'm not worried about it too much. And I figure, you know what, if the plants start showing really bad signs, then I'll deal with it. So I noticed a little leaf curl and I thought, maybe I should buy a pH meter. But these things are a tad bit expensive. This is in Milwaukee. You can go out and buy the Hannah. It's a little red one. For $40, and I've heard that those things come back all the time. They get returned because they don't work. So I spent more on this. I spent a little over $100 on it. And yes, that's pricey. I didn't want to do that. But this thing will last me probably 5 or 10 years. And I'll get my use out of it, whereas I might go through 5 or 6 of those little cheap ones and end up spending 3 or 4 times that amount. Yes?
What was the cost on your bucket kit and those stones?
Yes. The stones, this bag was $10.
And it'll do how many buckets?
It'll do about almost 2. Now, if you're going to do a few buckets, like here I have 5, I'm never going to operate more than 6 of these buckets. So I bought a bag of hydro corn. And this was probably maybe $20. I don't know how much I spent for it, maybe 20 or 30. And this did all those 5 buckets with some left over. I don't have enough to do a whole bucket, but I got plenty left over.
Is that the same thing?
It's the same exact thing, no difference. Yes.
And that'll last you forever, right?
Yeah, it'll last forever. Yeah, you just keep, when you're finished, your plant's life cycle's done. Actually, some of these plants you can keep going for years, but the average person after the life cycle's done, you just wash all your stuff down real good and put it back in action. This kind of investment, it may seem like a lot up front, but it's an investment in you. It's an investment in your eating healthy food. It's an investment in keeping you out of that grocery store. Let me tell you this, the money you save by growing it yourself and keeping out of that grocery store is going to pay for anything you might spend in this realm inside of about a year, maybe 2 years max. I have got a lot of stuff, but I've been doing this for a couple of years now. So when I really get this stuff cranking, and I'm using this 10 years down the road, I don't care what I paid for it, because it's giving me healthy food, and it's helping me to escape the high cost that prices continually going up. The kit is roughly $15. I'll tell you, I bought the bucket and the insert, the kit, the hydroton. I think it cost me $45. Now, if you're buying all 5 of those buckets and you buy the big bag there, it's a little less. It might go down to about 41, 42 roughly for each one of those buckets. Yes?
I wanted to ask this. I learned not too long ago that if you take your fruits and vegetables and you rinse it in vinegar water, it will make them last longer and no molds will grow on them. So I'm wondering if you could rinse these stones after you're through using them in vinegar water too.
That's an excellent idea. And vinegar, isn't it alkaline?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. Washing the stuff in a light grade of vinegar water, like maybe mixed with water. Yeah, that's a good idea. Can I show you guys a couple of pictures? I'll take some more questions, but I'd like to show you 1 or 2 things as far as I would like for you to know what's coming up.
Do you use white vinegar or white?
And aren't those nuggets just in your smaller
basket. It's not filling up the whole 5 gallons.
Correct. It's just in the smaller basket, yes. Okay, I want to show you guys just 1 or 2 pictures real quick. What we did, we harvested this Friday. And that's not bad for the middle of the winter, which we're approaching. Now I want to show you one other thing. In my greenhouse, I have, this is called Dutch bucket hydroponics. And it's wonderful. It's really inexpensive to set up. And that right there, I'll be growing all my tomatoes and peppers and cucumber through the summer. And those plants more than likely will grow up and over the top of the greenhouse like trees. And I plan on encouraging them to do that. Let me show you 1 or 2 others real quickly. This is an olive tree that I have. It produced olives this year. Now, not a lot, because the tree's it was only about a year old. But I think that olive tree is going to do wonderfully for me. Now, I want to show you the last thing is the floating raft beds. As you can see, I've got 3 of them. Do you see this? There, you put down these little covers with these 2-inch net cups like I showed you. And you can grow your lettuces out of this. What you do, you fill your nutrient in here, and then you cover it with this. And you don't need a pump, you don't need an air pump, and no electricity. You put your nutrient in there and you forget about it. Come back in 28 days, you'll have full heads of lettuce. It's a certain type of method that's really good. You could be out in the middle of nowhere and you could do this method because it doesn't take electricity.
What's it called?
It's called the Kratky Method. It's a scientist guy that invented it. And it's really easy to do. Once somebody shows you how to do it, Kratky. And I want to show you one other thing. Let me see, it's funny. I do heat my greenhouse. If you notice, I have a wood-burning stove that I made. And then I use gas just on the highs and lows, like when I'm first getting in there, I just want to get it warmed up quick before I get the wood fire going.
But now to do that lettuce, you wouldn't have to do that, would you? Would you just show us?
Well, the reason why this is retired for the winter is because I don't want that hydroponic solution getting cold. If it gets real cold, I don't know how it's going to act, so I don't do it. I'm waiting for the spring. But the truth is, keep it as warm as that wood-burning stove is able to keep my greenhouse, combined with that gas. You know, it might cost me for gas maybe $40 a month, or it's probably more like $30 a month because I'm using wood to heat with. And so I couldn't do the tomatoes or the flowering, fruiting vegetables, but I could do the lettuces. And I just haven't done it because I've got other means. I've got the cold frames and it's just easier. I didn't really want to heat this thing through the winter because I have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning every morning when it gets cold to chalk that thing with wood and put more wood on the coals. So it's a little bit of work. I've had to train myself how to go back to sleep. But I like it. It's fun. I'm growing all my rare trees in this greenhouse. You had a question?
Oh yeah, as it rained, because most of us collect on the side of the house, the big bucket.
Yeah.
How does acid rain affect that?
Not at all. You know, rain is the gold standard in water for the gardener. There's nothing finer. Any more questions? Yes?
How much are the buckets? Because it's not on here, where to get the buckets?
The buckets are $8.50. I put the store above that whole list on your second page. It's Fifth Season in Asheville is where you can buy everything to do this that I did today. And there's a list of all the things you need. I've done all your homework for you. All you got to do is look at that list. I want to go ahead and cut our time off now. Thank you guys for coming, and you have a very blessed afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.